Hello dear viewers, and welcome back to the ancient dwarven hold of our ancestors. Today I'll be talking about the strategy game Northgard. Northgard was developed and published by Shiro Games and was released in 2018. I must admit I watched this game from afar for a good while, but never got round to actually purchasing it and firing it up. Well, I've done so dear viewers, and my beard feels mightier for the doing so. Just a quick interlude dear viewers. If you like what this silly old dwarf does down in the ancient hold, then please consider subscribing to the channel, giving this video a thumbs up, and perhaps leave a comment with your thoughts on the game and what similar games you might enjoy that I could check out. Northgard is set in Norse mythology, where you take on the role of a leader of Vikings as you set out to explore the new continent of Northgard. You will take control of territory while constructing various buildings to support your settlement. There are numerous factors that must be taken into account to have a flourishing town. This includes producing enough food and wood, or keeping the happiness of your population in the positive. For there is a yearly cycle where in the winter months food is scarcer and firewood harder to come by. Of course, you will have to both defend your base from attacks and send forth your warriors to help claim new lands. The aesthetic that the developer was going for here is classic fantasy kind of thing, set within the aforementioned Norse mythology. Maybe it is because I'm old and remember these things, but I get a settler's vibe while playing Northgard. The graphics are very stylised and warm, giving off that nice and wholesome kind of feel that those old games exuded. The art style is warm and welcoming and pleasant to look at. The land, the buildings, the workers of your settlements all give a nice whimsical and fantastical vibe, which I like a lot. The soundtrack that plays in the background is pleasant and nice and what you might expect from such a game. It all sounds good here with that reassuring knock as a worker builds a new building or chops wood and such. There are cutscenes in the game that are narrated, but besides this, most of the dialogue which happens throughout the game is simply in text form. This is fine of course, but you all need to read a bit. On my 1440p setup, the text appears quite small at the bottom of the screen, which can be a little difficult to read. You can adjust the size of the UI though in the option mode, which I later discovered. Within the start menu, there are different modes of which you can play, including skirmish maps, multiplayer and a single player campaign, which is what I mostly played. You can also lead a clan through the conquest mode, which is a randomised amount of different challenges and maps. The story of the main campaign begins with you and your clan being attacked by the evil leader of the Raven clan, leaving your father the king dead at their hands. You set out with the rest of your clan on a mission of revenge into the strange land of Northgard. It is now up to you to avenge your father and tame the wilds of this mysterious continent. Each mission will start you off with a town centre and one section of territory. The goal of each mission isn't always to destroy the enemy settlement though. Indeed, there are numerous win conditions like reaching a certain level of fame, trade with other factions and so forth. Regardless of the mission, or if you're simply playing a single player map or multiplayer, there are several things that must be taken care of for you to have a functional settlement, with which you might hope to win the game. The basic requirements for a settlement are food, used to feed your population and acquire new territory, wood, that is used to construct buildings and used as firewood in the winter months, and houses to house your settlers. There are several ways to produce food. Your workers by default will forage for it in the surrounding land, which is nice. Besides this, you can employ hunters to hunt game, fishermen and farmers, and all sorts. Each requires certain conditions like fertile ground or animals in the target territory. You must build the associated building for them and then assign a worker to it. What I do find a little odd is that unless one of your workers is free in the target section of land, you will have to manually find a free worker and then send them to the building site. Once the building is complete, the worker will not automatically take up the station, with you again having to manually assign someone to it. I'm not really sure why this is done. Perhaps there is an obvious reason, but I can't see it. Acquiring wood is as simple as building and manning a woodcutter building. You don't have to build foresters or sawmills or anything else, just these. Lastly, for you to acquire new workers, you will need to build houses to house them. It is critical that these basic factors are taken into account when growing your settlements, and you must definitely always be aware that in winter your production will drop dramatically, perhaps leading to unhappiness, no food to feed your population, and the abandonment of your settlements by its denizens. I like this extra thing to bear in mind, and is no doubt influenced by other survival building games, though I must say it is not too harsh that it can really be a drag on your enjoyment of the game, which is nice. Besides these two main resources and houses, there are both tangible and intangible resources you must keep an eye on. There is a happiness meter, which is a numeric value, either in the positive or negative, that shows how happy your population is, along with your fame level, which shows how well you are known to the greater world, and lore, which is essentially research that allows you to select new abilities that will affect your town. Lastly is the number of crowns or gold available to you. There's a decent amount of instruction about what each resource is for, with you able to simply mouse over their values in game to get a breakdown of what is affecting the current value. This is good as you don't feel completely abandoned when you first start with no idea what to do or how to do it. As well as simply building new structures, you can upgrade them using stone that you acquire. This will add bonuses to the structure as well as often allowing you to assign more workers to it, which is important. Your population might get a bit arsey too if you haven't provided them with upgraded houses. Stone isn't too widespread, so you'll need to spend it wisely. Besides structure upgrades, through the use of the forge, you can upgrade all of the tools of your other workers and weapons of your warriors. Again, this is worth investing in. There is a limit on how many buildings you can create in a territory, which means you'll need to acquire more territory to build anything else. This is where the game reminds me more of the Settlers. To see what else is going on the map, you'll need to build a scout hut and populate it with a worker. This new scout will now set off to begin exploring the unknown parts of the map. This is essentially them standing on the boundary and peering in for a bit. Discovering new zones isn't as simple as this though. The target zone being uncovered might contain dangerous beasts or undead Druger or some other terrible beast. This is where you'll have to send in your bannerman, who is your hero for the map, into the zone with any other soldiers you have, all in a brave attempt to defeat them all. It should be noted that bannermen are only available during the story campaign and not in the other modes, from what I experienced anyway. Once it is clear, you can spend a certain amount of food to claim the new zone. The bannerman that you have for each map that you can choose from at the beginning will have a differing effect on gameplay. At the start of the map you'll have several tribes which you can choose from. Whichever tribe you select will not only affect which bannerman you have, but also the special buffs or features that will be available to you. For instance, if you pick the Raven clan, you will swap the longship dock for a harbour, which enables you to send mercenaries to attack rivals via boat, while the sheep clan allows you to create sheep farms for another source of food. There are numerous other passive buffs and whatnot which can have quite the effect on how you'll play the game. Combat in Northgard is rather straightforward. You simply select your troops and click on the territory you wish to attack. If it is an opponent, you will need to first scout out the area with a scout, whereas beasties and such, you simply need to march in and have a rumble right away. There is some micromanagement to be done here if you wish, moving damaged troops in and out of combat and such, but mostly it's who has done the most upgrading and how many troops you've got. So there is a lot to learn while playing Northgard, but the game does provide help for you to learn these ways, especially if you do the story campaign. In Northgard, there are little additions and features which I think work really well to grease the wheels and keep the game feeling good. Things like having the healer worker collect food when not healing, which otherwise might put you off making one. Having sheep in your territory will reduce the need for firewood in winter. Your workers will also come together to fight an aggressive beast rather than fighting alone or running away, and each of the resource stats giving a useful breakdown that might inform you of why your happiness is low or where your wood is going. You can easily select all the warriors you currently have, or setting it so that no matter where you create new ones, they will always move to where your bannerman currently is. They are both good ways to keep track of your soldiers and rally them quickly when needed. There is a lot of content in Northgard. Besides the campaign, which has a good few missions to explore while you follow the story, there is the option to simply play a standalone map with different win conditions and number of opponents. You can also go online and duke it out with other actual human beings if you fancy. Northgard is a good package of a game. There is a lot to do and a good amount of replayability and variance with all the different clans that you can select from. In that sense, it is similar to Age of Empires with the numerous races that you can choose that have a tangible effect on how you're going to go about winning the game. There are a few things which are a little annoying, like having to manually select workers to build a building if there are none in the current zone, but on the whole, this is a really good game. The whole time I was playing, I couldn't stop thinking about the old Settlers games, which I believe is a really good sign. Triggering some good memories of back in the day and adding some new ones as well as I play through is most definitely great. Indeed, it is great when a game like this invokes those happy thoughts in our silly minds. It is what video games are supposed to do, in my opinion anyway. And Divya, I hope if you play this you might get some of those good thoughts too. At the very least, I hope you have some games in your life that you have played or continue to play that bring joyous thoughts and memories to your soul. If you like city building games and or strategy games, then I think you'll really enjoy Northgard. I haven't played a lot of such games for a little while, but by playing this one it has lit a fire underneath me that I shall go and check out some other similar titles. Northgard has certainly set a high bar, dear viewers. It is available both on GOG and Steam, so please go and check it out. And there we go, dear viewers. Another video from me here down in the Ancient Hold. I hope that you have enjoyed it and are doing well. I shall see you next time.